Alrighty folks, want to welcome you back to some more videos from Yates Computers Tips and Reviews. Want to start out by mentioning it again. If you haven't subscribed, pause this video, stop the video, head on over there and subscribe now and then come on back. So, wanted to do a little video on something that you'll probably see little bits and pieces of all throughout my YouTube channel, and probably a lot of people will question it. I've always liked trains. Trains were very interesting to me. The layout, the designs, and all of these type of things of trains are interesting to me. And I really think a train fits into a concept as computer technology does. I think they're very similar in a lot of concepts and the way they operate and how they function. Not to mention, trains have a lot of electronics in them and how they all function. And if you're a home user and a small business user, train technology probably isn't that big of a deal, but it kind of is, because how a train works and operates and get from A to B is really similar concept to me. That makes a lot of the technology make more sense. And I know a lot of people have a hard time comprehending how all of this type of stuff makes sense, that I wanted to do a video and explain a lot of these theories and how a lot of it to me is really similar. This is how a lot of this stuff, I remember these things are structured as a train, how a train functions. And not only the physical train. There's the track that train runs on. And to me, that is the whole key to everything. It's not really about the train. That train is just your data that you have that goes back and forth. That's what the train is. That moves back and forth. That's your data. That's everything that's there. And again, this is your data, the train. How is it secure? Same as a train. Your data, packages, frame rates, all of that is the train car. How is it secure? Is the door open? Door closed? Door locked? These are the same concepts how I link a lot of this stuff. The train track is actually how your data gets transferred. Your network, your architecture, all of that type of stuff. That is part of this year's quiz for you to look at all of that. So again, this falls into that kind of a concept. When you get into watching a lot of my videos, you'll hear about packet sniffing, you'll hear about rerouting you, phishing, all of these type of things that go on. How ransomware, what it does. There's a lot of videos out there. This is all very similar to a train and a train track. Train tracks are very secure. They're hard laid lines that are run from A to B. There might be split junctions, there might be other things. But to intercept and take a train would take a lot of physical other things to do it. You've seen movies where they fly in helicopters and hook onto the train car and pull up the train car. These things can actually kind of be done computer-wise by using certain type of things, ransomware, spyware, all of these things that can kind of take over your data, the train car. It's not affecting the rails. That's your actual physical network. But to reroute that train onto a different train line, it has to be physically attached. Like train tracks have the little splitters and all of those type of things. So you'll see a lot of videos where I've gone to train museums, shown the lights that come on the intersections. All of that's computer controlled, switches, technology on the rails, all of that stuff to trigger all of that what it communicates to. The system then turns the lights on, lowers the arm. All these are automated systems to make sure certain things are done right and to make sure the data or the train is secure. So, to me, I kind of thought that was an interesting concept. The other thing is, you have train wrecks where you have trucks or cars or anything that's on the physical train line that's in the way of your packets coming through. That's a denial of service attack. That's a lot of other terms that can be used because there's other data or other transmissions on that line when your packet tries to come through. So I really think that's a good logical way to explain this, because a train cannot just decide to go from LA to Chicago and make a right-hand turn. The rail has to be there. The network line has to be there. So this is where the architecture of your network and all of these things come in play. So this is why I kind of wanted to do a video on this, because this is how a lot of this stuff can kind of be comprehended in a simpler, more logical way. But you got to understand how the trains work and tracks and switches and all these type of things. The operator of the trains and all of these type of things, what these job functions actually are and how they can relate to computer systems. So I really thought that was an interesting thing, because a lot of times that's how I structure a lot of it, is understanding your network line, where it runs, how it runs, knowing you can have interference, you can have loss of internet or whatever. Same as if you have a railroad line that goes over a place where you have tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, you can have those disturbances in your services because it's in between the points where your data is transmitted. So I kind of thought that was really a kind of an interesting comparison. A lot of the stuff that usually when I'm struggling to try to understand how that actually works or how it's laid out, I really find it's kind of really similar to how this kind of a system works. There's different warnings, there's different other things you can do. And of course, with more trains, you have someone or a system that is watching them and knowing where they're at. There's signal lights to let them know, stop, go, can you, switches, routers, all of those things can do a lot of these devices that do the same forwarding of traffic. And again, a train car is your data. Going down the rail. Of course, going down the rail, it's storage bins carrying TVs and everything else, going from A to B to stores and all that stuff. But to me, that's a good translation to me that helps me to understand some of this. That I wanted to relay a lot of that because this might help someone who's struggling to try to figure this out. When you go to study for networking and you go to study for a lot of things, it can get quite in depth. That's why this is considered a rabbit hole, because it can get very in depth with your security layers, all your protocols, all of these things that go on. How does it protect and what does it protect? And to me, understanding this concept really made it a lot easier for me. What is the physical layer? What is the hardware layer? What is the software layer? What is all these different layers? I found a lot of it kind of does relate to this. What is your physical device? All of these things that really, your rails, your switches, all these physical things. What do you have monitoring these things? When you get into bigger businesses, your security software and all of those type of things. This is your data packet. when you get into Wireshark and all of that stuff, tracking where all those data packets are. You're tracking this, the train car, the data packet, where it's going, how it's being forwarded. So that was kind of an interesting dilemma that I've always had. I've kind of figured that out several years ago. And I don't think anybody has ever really put out that kind of an informational type of thing. They tell you, like I've done, what a switch is, what a router is. Those are to get you to understand the basic pieces of hardware. I've also got the videos out on how all of those things work together and how they communicate together. And that's the fall to, or the build up to this year's quiz, for you to evaluate your network. There is a lot of other things that come involved. I'll have a couple more videos that will deal with certain things on your network itself. Some security concerns, some other things that are going on that you need to be aware of that a lot of people don't really talk about. If you get into Security Plus, Network Plus type of things, you will start hearing some of these subjects. But nobody's talking about it because it's a big money industry. A lot of companies that are out there making money by you buying these products, by you not realizing the security concerns that are out there. And a lot of that goes back to the train. Your data. There's train wrecks with chemical spills and all of those type of things. Now, chemical, hazardous material, is that a good thing to have as your data is being transferred? Probably not. It's probably not something you want right next to your BMW or whatever fancy car you have on that same train. So these are the concepts that I have that will explain a lot of that. And maybe this will help, maybe this will confuse some people, but to me, this all really fits together very well. Because that one train car is one packet of data. This train car is a different packet of data. You might want your mail along with your internet browsing all going out onto the same packet. This one's actually a cookie car. So food, snacks, going out with data or whatever you want to consider this car as. Your food order, your grocery pickup order, whatever kind of items you want to send out. Do you want to send out hazardous material car next to your food car? Most likely not. If you have any kind of food handling or any of that type of training, you don't want those two together. You don't want that nastiness near each other. And I'm sure the train companies split that apart. Of course, your hazardous material car is probably not going to the same place as other similar food cars and all of that stuff, so they would be on separate trains. So this is really the interesting factor. And that factor will be coming up. I'll be doing a video on that. So I wanted to do a little video to express how a lot of this stuff, I make it logical so I can understand it. And this was really the key theory to me figuring out a lot of this. So you'll see a lot of times, I have some videos on there where I've gone to train stuff, gone to the Grand Canyon, have stuff on there about the Grand Canyon. I know it's not fully tech related, but it is tech related. There's a lot of key factors there. When we went there and we stayed the night, they had a video about the national parks, how they recycle everything. Everything you bring up there, your bottles, your cans, everything. All that useless kind of plastics and all the stuff that they can't really use, they smash it all together, they crush it all together, and they're making benches. picnic benches and stuff out of that material and putting it into the park. So now they got rid of wasteless trash and turned it into something useful that you can use when you go to the park the next time. So that was kind of an interesting where the technology and where the concepts are. And of course, that's all technology based. How they melt it, how they get it to stick, all of these type of things, you'll learn. And, running the machinery, programming the machinery, all of those type of things are tech related. Got there on the train. So that is one of the key factors of it. Knowing there's a lot of little things there that I thought were important. It might not be that important to you. You might have been to the Grand Canyon. You might not even care. It's just something there that's an alternate way of looking at tech. Maybe you'll see something on there that sparks your interest, that gets you curious. There's the railroad line right there with the gates, the lights that come down. That's all tech. How that's triggered, what it does. Of course, you got voltage, you got all that stuff that takes place. That's electronic, that's tech. Maybe some of that stuff will spark an interest. That would get you more interested into finding out more about certain kinds of tech. And I got videos on all that kind of tech and all that kind of information. So, this is why I kind of do a lot of train stuff. Not to mention I just like trains. But that is a good structural foundation that I had that really explains a lot of networking, switches, hubs, how when it connects together, loopbacks are the train turnarounds. I have a lot of concepts in here that I tie to a lot of things that really can be deployed. And not only to trains. Streetcars, all of those type of things. How they operate, how they do things. So let me wrap this one up because I wanted to just do a little short video so that some people can understand a little bit more and concept a lot more of this tech, especially networking. Alrighty, thank you so much.